It's a confusing time for entrepreneurs and business leaders. We're in a pandemic, and not everybody has a playbook for how to deal with this crisis. Coming up next, the top 3 things all business owners need to know. That's next on The Jeff Crilley Show.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is The Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, it seems like every day we're getting new information about the pandemic. Businesses are opening, businesses are closing. It's a very confusing time for entrepreneurs, and I speak as one myself. To talk about the challenges facing entrepreneurs, Doreen Milano, she's a speaker, author, and coach. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
You bet, you bet. I know you do a lot of training with business leaders.
I do.
When you talk about the big 3 that all business owners need to know, what do you typically tell them?
I typically tell them, make sure you're delivering your core values to your client base and your employees. If your employees don't understand what the core values are, they're going to have a difficulty delivering those to the client base.
And a core value can't be just a plaque on a wall that has hyperbole, right? It has to be something that the company lives out.
It's living and breathing. So a core value may be, let's say, integrity, right? Well, that is a promise that you're making to your client base. And it's some promise you're making to not only your client base, but your employees. How are you delivering that value regularly?
That's awesome. Okay, that's number 1.
That's number 1.
What's number 2?
Number 2 is connect with your client base.
Okay.
And I'm not saying send them out email blasts all the time. That's not connecting.
Yeah.
Talk to your client base.
So if
engage.
Yeah. So if somebody, let's suppose it's a service industry and they have 50 clients that they serve. So how often should they be cycling through the 50 clients, talking to them?
As often as they can be.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't want to be a pest, but at the same time, you need to know what that client base needs.
Yes.
What their number 1 triggers are. And let's face it, we're doing business from square one again. So everybody's triggers, what used to be, is no longer the reality. They have a different reality they're dealing with. And you need to reconnect and figure out what it is that they need.
That's great. Okay, what's number 3?
Number 3 is verifying that your prime client base is truly your client base.
And that's a shock to a lot of entrepreneurs. They think they know who that they're selling to, and it may be a completely different audience.
Exactly. So they don't go back and double check and don't do the comparison that they need to be doing to make sure that what they're delivering is what that client base needs.
Yes.
It could be this client base over here that really needs that, and they're not even talking to them.
We were on Doreen's Facebook page this morning going through pictures, and she's always out there networking. She's always out there leading workshops. Well, I got to ask you about the Superman cape. What was that?
Oh, yeah. That is a good friend of mine is in California, and she runs a women's group, and it's called, Thriving Business.
Yes.
And Katarina Rando is a rock star in California as far as really helping women in business find their voice.
That's so powerful. Okay, next slide. And you're always out networking. I know you're a Rotarian. I've seen you on some Zoom calls with the Rotary. You got to circulate to percolate, don't you? You got to get out of the house.
You have to get out of the house either virtually or physically. I mean, the picture that you had up there, that was myself with businesscoach.com, Gary Hansen,
Yes.
out in California. He was my business coach when I started, and he and I have remained good friends, and he's somebody that I rely on for advice, because even a coach needs a coach,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
We get stuck in our little bubble, and we forget that we have to get outside of the bubble and really connect with other people to make sure that we're doing the things that we need to be doing to support the client base that we're serving.
Yes. And you're a kind coach. We found a nice testimonial on your website. We're going to roll that now.
Hi, I'm Dustin. I'm the president of Little Feet Renovation, and I'm here to recommend Doreen Milano of Visions to Excellence. When I started working with Doreen 3 years ago, I was a sole proprietor, and I'd had a lot of ideas about what I wanted to do with my company, and I had a lot of suggestions about what I should do with my company. The only problem is that I kind of didn't know what I needed to know to get there. And working with Doreen, she helped me to understand a lot of the processes that I needed to put into place in order to double my gross sales, or have a crew of 5 people, have the human resources and the payroll and the bookkeeping systems in place that were necessary to do this, how to incorporate my business or have the legal backing to be able to support problems. How to have teams in place that would keep me from having high levels of anxiety about what I was doing with my business. And over the years, I've been tested along the way, and each time Doreen's been there to help me. Most recently, when the coronavirus pandemic hit our nation, it tested my leadership in a way that I have never been tested thus far. And I had a moment to reflect that if it weren't for the years of work with Doreen, I would have been ill-equipped to handle the heavy decisions that I had to make to save my company. And that's the best recommendation that I can give you if you're looking for a business consultant. Doreen Milano is your person.
Wow. That is high praise.
It really is, and he's doing really well.
That's got to make you feel good, almost like
does.
a family member, right?
It is, because my clients become part of my family.
That's very cool. I think it takes courage on the part of the CEO to admit that he or she doesn't know all the answers and needs a
True.
coach. Do you find a lot of people reluctant to invite a coach into their life because they're going to find out how messed up they are?
They are super reluctant. What's really interesting is they have it in their head that they're inviting Tony Robbins into their life.
Yeah.
And they're going to get beat up.
Yeah.
And that's not my style. You know, I'm going to tell you the truth, whatever the truth is. But I'm going to deliver it in a way that you can accept.
Outstanding.
Right?
Outstanding.
And sometimes what it's about is biting my tongue a little bit until the client is ready to actually face what's going on.
Yes. Well, you've got a great reputation in this town. We're going to go ahead and put your website up so everybody can get in touch. It's visionstoexcellence.com is
Yes.
the website. Doreen, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much, Jeff. I really appreciated it.
You bet. And that's it for now. We'll see you next time.